Welcome, gentlemen. I had prepared something to say, but I think Konkana has covered it quite well, so there's no point repeating much of it. I am very curious about both Punjab and Rajasthan personally, because I have family in both. And I'm at a stage in life, like a lot of people here, who keep thinking, should I put my money into shares or mutual funds or real estate, or what should I do with my money? And then we also are at a stage where you keep thinking, where should I retire? Or where should I buy my second home? So there are a lot of these personal strands I would try to bring together. Uh, Taking a cue from what Konkana said, these are two places which are seeing clear growth beyond Delhi NCR and even beyond your idea of what a big city is. Chandigarh is really small, 8 by 6 kilometers as such. Jaipur, in popular imagination, is an even smaller city because of how Chandigarh gets a little more cultural play in the north. So if I could begin with Shriram, say, why are these two places seeing a boom, if we can call it a boom? And are these booms just cyclical in nature, or are these foundational? Will they stay for a while?
Good evening, everyone. I think historically, if you see, the growth of these two cities, when we are talking about up in north, Chandigarh and Rajasthan and Jaipur, particularly in Rajasthan, uh, there has been few attributes which always have, defined visits to these two. Uh, I don't say that they are now any more two-tier cities. They're probably one and a half tier, if I would like to place it. Uh, Over a period of time, the effect from Delhi, which was going towards Rajasthan or Punjab, was only thing which was the time which was taking for anybody to commute to these places. And these places have been attributed to a lot of inward movement of traffic, which has come from wherein uh, you know people who are staying in Delhi had reasons to go to these places, whether it was closer to the hills or change or family or any sort of activity which they wanted to do on a very short scale basis. So the commute time has drastically gone down, which is the major factor of growth of these two implemented cities. And because of DMIC and the expressways which are now building up, I think that is something which is the situation which needs to be, which is addressed by for the growth which is happening.
I would want your view on this as well. Is this here to stay then, particularly when you talk about Mohali? In Tri-City in particular, Mohali is all being talked about. And then there are micro markets within it, like Airport Road. And any hoarding you see from here to Chandigarh when you drive is trying to sell you property on the Airport Road in Mohali. So let's start with the micro. Let's address the micro as well while you speak about the macro question that I also asked Sriram.
Okay, thanks Arish and thanks NCT for inviting us here. So if you look at, I'll go macro and then I go micro. I hope that suffices the conversation.
Yeah, that works.
See, in any market or any city which, gains traction on real estate specifically is driven by two factors. One is white collar job creation in that city, how many industries are coming in, and how the infrastructure is behaving towards making that possible. That more and more corporates going in, so if you look at examples in India, like Gurgaon got developed just because it was enough and more impetus to corporates to come in here, work here. Airport was, in vicinity. Hence, that helped Gurgaon as a city to develop over years. I'll be very, very candid about it. Chandigarh or Jaipur today are still miles to go from that aspect. Today, the demand generation in these two cities is largely captive from their own cities. So people, sitting in, living in Chandigarh city wants to upgrade to a better lifestyle, go into vertical housing, community living, larger homes, and so on and so forth, because the supply in Chandigarh is very, very limited within the city, So that's why they are moving to sectors, what you mentioned, Airport Road. Mohali mein, I think sector 66A, 89. These are the preferred sectors apart from locales like Zirakpur, some parts of Zirakpur, some parts of Panchkula, and so on and so forth. Incidentally, I hail from Jaipur. I can talk a lot about Jaipur as a city. Look at the difference of the population. I think Jaipur, the larger Jaipur area, greater metropolitan Jaipur area, population is what, 6.5 million, that's it. Delhi itself is 71 or 72 million, if I'm not wrong. The difference is humongous. To develop Jaipur to be the next Gurgaon or next Pune or next Hyderabad, it is going to take a lot of impetus from obviously the government side, plus private players, private developers to come in and bring in that economic assurity to the people to move in there. So when you started, you said, ki, I want to buy a retirement home. That is the question I have in mind. Since I come from Jaipur, I will also have that question. But when my kid who's going to college, he wants to start his career or he wants to establish his career, will Jaipur be the destination or Chandigarh be the destination? That's the question we need to answer. True. It's as a longish, long-tailed answer.
True. So let's take it away from, say, buying for self-use to treating it like a market where you invest. So a part of the question has been addressed, but I'm not going into the reasons why it would go up. Let's go a little further into, say, the NRIs who are trying to invest, particularly in Punjab, for instance. What role are NRIs playing in this market? Are they real investors? Are they the ones that are causing a cyclical rise? Are they the ones who are going to stay in this market because they have this cultural connection also to this part of the world? Are NRIs a factor as such in this real estate boom in, say, Chandigarh, Mohali, or even in Jaipur? If Rahul, you could take that question.
Okay, so NRI play, I think previous sessions, some answers around there, 17% of Indian primary real estate is bought by NRIs, which is truer in nature. But whether that will play a very, very great part in developing in a market for a longish period, very, very difficult to answer. And it's not, and all the 3 pointers, what you said, they are there for as investors, yes, they are. Because secondly, are they culturally rooted to that place? So if you look at other markets also, like Kochi, or let's say Ahmedabad, because a lot of families have NRIs staying outside of India, the money flows back to the base city until unless they have gone out for good. So for instance, people taking PR in Canada or PR in Australia, what we see at least from where I sit, they don't really buy into India real estate story as much as someone who's gone to, let's say, Dubai. Because that's a short stay. That's not I'm going to stay there for life, or the commute time is lesser, hassle-free travel from Dubai to India. So hence the investments in India from NRI community is largest, I think 60-65% comes out of only GCC countries. So that's the reason. So whether they will be able to drive that demand in a longish period of time, I am not sure. I am not confident about the statistic itself.
Rahul, I would really want you to take that question as well. If you think NRIs are a factor, or since he's answered it to some degree, are there institutional investors also interested in these markets who are investing big money into projects themselves, where inventory could even be bought by investors mostly, while there are not as many self-living sort of buyers?
See, absolutely, institutional investors look for transparency. Quality infrastructure and professionally driven developments would always emerge very, it's something which the institution likes. From an investor confidence point of view, these markets are mature enough. There are a lot of brands which are, or the companies which are already started establishing in these markets. So the growth point, if you see a growth center, any institutional investment, if it is coming, or an investor who's looking at, they are looking at modern infrastructure, connectivity, good office infrastructure, hospitals and schools, which probably defines the type of people who are going to be subscribers to those developments where they are investing in. So when you seek these type of situations in front of you, I mean, any city which has these attributes would be a certain interest level which would be there by the institutional investors, because at the end of the day, the land which is there in the metro cities is exceedingly expensive to develop and build and get that ROI which they are looking for that money. So considering if you're looking at a metro city, the ROI to from a project perspective would not be as high as what could be in a tier 1.5 or tier 2 city over a period of 7 years. So from that perspective, I think institutional investors are very, very keen to get into these places.
So you touched upon the industrial corridors as well. So my next question is also about that. So is there sustainability in the housing demand, the office demand that is driven by these industrial corridors that go through, say, Rajasthan, even the GT Road, for instance? Are these sustainable housing and office destinations as well?
See, if you see the old highway which was connecting between Delhi and Jaipur, that highway is till, I think, till Neemrana and Bhiwadi is urbanized already. So if you see, earlier if somebody was developing a project in Manesar when, Dwarka Expressway and all these areas which were never developed, I mean, it used to be like a far off place, the type of investment return was much lower. But after the connectivity has moved in, I think you can see that urbanization which is going ahead and beyond. In the next 5 years, probably the old corridor would be urbanized till Jaipur only, yeah, because the new DMI will take over the larger traffic. So, I mean, that is how a growth pattern of any geography is defined as. So, from that perspective, I'm very bullish about industrial corridors coming like that.
We spoke about houses, and sometimes when we speak about houses, we think about living there, and then I think, Shriram, you pointed out how living there may not be feasible in the long run. Your kids may want jobs, you may want retirement, but they want jobs after that. So let's look at office spaces. Let's look at job creation. Let's look at places where you can work, and therefore you live there. Do you see these two cities, Mohali, for instance, has been trying for an IT park to come up. It came up in a spurt and then didn't. Chandigarh has an IT park, but it doesn't have as many offices as you would expect there. But there are also changes coming now in how Bangalore people, the lifestyle there, the traffic there is making people move to say, okay, why doesn't my company have an office in Calcutta? Why doesn't my company have in the extended Hyderabad area, why don't they have an office there? Do you see these two cities also playing a role there?
Uh, so I'll answer this question in a bit diametrically opposite way. See, India's urbanization number is pegged to be 50-60% by 2047. That's the number. We're talking about roughly 50 crore people moving to cities. I don't think the current setup of 8 cities is going to sustain that. You need to have more newer metros coming up. And I think cities like Jaipur, Chandigarh, Indore, Ahmedabad, Vizag, these are the corridors, and that's why you see the kind of investment specifically with respect to infrastructure going in. So Shriram mentioned about DMIC. I think 40% of DMIC is in Rajasthan itself. To the entire, if you look at Udaipur, Jaipur, Alwar, Bandikui, these are the areas which DMIC is covering. So a lot of impetus coming in from the central government as well as the state government to develop these logistics corridors plus warehousing, because the warehousing is the first asset which gets created when you have large supply of land there. And, it is a very, interesting sector to be in. Similarly, if you look at, this is an off example, a first data center is coming in Vizag. Why can't it come in Hyderabad or Bangalore, which are more developed, more metro? Because I think we as a country need to ensure that we have more cities wherein people aspire to go and work. To answer your question, yes, these cities can be and should be. The job creation has to happen. Hence, residential supply has to go up. People need to have better places to stay in. And and as Shriram mentioned, Delhi moving towards Jaipur and converging at some point in time. It should happen at some point in time. Not today, probably 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Nobody knows that.
I'll come back to how many years. I'll ask you that again. But there is a trend I am seeing of scarcity playing a very big role in Chandigarh market and of course in elite areas of Jaipur as well. These are houses that are 8 canal, 6 canal, 4 canal houses going for 100 crores, and that's the number that we find out, and there is the number that we don't find out. There is sector 2 in Chandigarh, for instance, 75 houses in all, 200 crores each house. So what kind of home buyer is buying into these two cities? There is, of course, the Zirakpur when you enter from here, and then there is, of course, the outer of Jaipur where you have flats, and then there is the elite area. Is it a mix of buyers, or is these marquee big deals are the ones really that determine where the market is headed? Let me add a line to that. Say, is the 200 crore house the reality of a market in Chandigarh, or are the 35 lakh 1 BHK, 2 BHK houses the reality of Chandigarh? Where will it go?
Well, I think the answer is that the 200 crore buyer is very limited any which ways. That will never drive a market, never. So let's say there was a deal in Central Delhi Lutyens about recently around 1250 crores odd. That is not going to define the market. Market is getting defined by what gets sold on Dwarka Expressway or Yamuna Expressway, because there are volumes. If the volumes are not increasing, that means your buyer is not there in the market. So today, when we peg the numbers, so let's say Jaipur is I think 400 transactions a month market from the primary transactions point of view, specifically residential. Similarly, Chandigarh is in that range of 400 to 600. Compare it to a NCR, when I say NCR's largest markets are Gurgaon and Noida. That number is 3,200. MMR, Mumbai, is 18,000. So the difference is stark. The drive is where the volumes are. If these cities are able to generate volumes in excess of, let's say, 4 digits for now, okay, this 500 becomes 1,000 today, and obviously, there is a sustained, demand there. People wants to move, people wants to own houses, and today the demand is generated by the captive audience of the same city only. Because see, someone who's staying in, let's say, old Jaipur wants to upgrade the lifestyle and then he goes to Ajmer Road and buys a flat, which is a larger in nature, community living. In Chandigarh, for that matter, the person who was staying in Chandigarh is buying in Zirakpur or Mohali, because that gives him a better lifestyle, connectivity to the airport, and he sees the story. Or someone, Chandigarh is a very specific example of NRIs coming in because they have roots there. Jaipur might not have that kind of NRI, volumes. So to answer your question, the volume will always drive the, value of that market, not the value will drive the volume. That's the other way
So
around.
that's the headline we follow, but then the market also goes somewhere else. Let me ask Rahul this question. So this premiumization of the market, for instance, is this going to stay, or are we going to see another spurt of affordable housing, which came around 2010-11, as far as I can remember? A lot of us bought houses at the time. Is this 2010-11 of correction of the market, more affordable housing, more people moving from villages to cities, and therefore that kind of house being built for them is going to be the story, and therefore that story directly connects to these towns, because these are the towns that are going to come up. Is this a trajectory that we can see? Rahul, that's... No, it's for both of you. So I leave that to you, who wants to speak.
Okay, if you genuinely ask me, yes, that should be the case. That is what should be the case. Incidentally, because of the land prices and the construction prices going up, and the definition of affordable housing from that sense of that point of view is still, I think, it has to change. As simple as that. Because we defined in 2017 the definition of affordable housing in India. We have not changed it yet. The numbers have gone up, the prices have gone up. So entry point is different from what it used to be 10 years back. But to answer your question, demand for that segment, yes, it is there. Today, incidentally, the supply is not there. So ideally, the private players, my developer partners, should actually have a strategy around how to address that demand. See, I can give you an example of Gurgaon as a city. You don't get anything which is less than, let's say, 2 crore rupees. Now, 2 crore is very limited population who can afford that. You just do the math around the EMIs and the down payments and so on and so forth. 2 crore is not what we are intending to do. Someone who is looking for an entry-level home is 75 lakhs. There is nothing available in Gurgaon. That's the same story in a Mohali or a Jaipur as well. If you are not giving the entry point which is viable for the person who's the demand, then you are actually missing out on the larger opportunity there.
Shriram, why is that? That would sound counterintuitive, right? If there is demand, why is there no supply?
I agree what Rahul said, but I would like to add this, that this kind of situations only would create the growth of, satellite areas around these particular hotspots. So in case, when you consider Jaipur, I mean, as a city, Bhiwadi, Neemrana, Udaipur, Ajmer would get that push of residential real estate being a little more affordable to build, to spread out that investment in the state. So I would not like to just consider Gurgaon, because Gurgaon's growth story has post-COVID been great. I mean, if somebody has, reached to a level of buying a 2 crore entry-level house, that means that market stand, that level has already been set. And if somebody is looking at going lower to the level, then he has to go further.
So you go further
So
away.
you further away. I mean, that is the way the growth and the infrastructure development in the corridor will happen. So whatever is defined will not change. I mean, if we are ready to buy fuel at 100 rupees a liter, I mean, it's not going to change. It's not going to come down. There would be no correction which is going to bring it down to 75 or 80 rupees. It will never happen that way. And that is the way, a certain benchmarking level has always been set in markets. So if Gurgaon is, and if Delhi, and if NCR has a level which has set, so it has to grow horizontally beyond to, parts of UP, parts of Haryana, parts of Rajasthan, and, eventually make a larger ecosystem, which would be much more modern than what is available in the previous developments which has happened. So one thing you need to understand, that whatever has been built today is basis on a planning which was done a year back. What would be built tomorrow would be basis on the planning of today. So modernization is continuously happening. So the infrastructure which is going to be built would be world class. It's not going to be built like something which was built 20 years back. So people would subscribe more, because the amenities which they will get, the way the planning has been done, would be very, very something which they would subscribe to in a much better assessment when it comes to a family living.
That's a good note for me to sort of tie it all up. Say you're saying it will be horizontal and it will be based on those corridors so those are those arteries I can see. But I think Rahul said long time and he didn't say a number, so I won't ask him. Would you have an idea of within the next 5 to 10 years, what are these trends that you see?
See, the trends, these are generational trends. So you need to understand this very categorically. I've been, watching this and trying to, deep dive into that, when that time will come in this country, when the next generation will stop cooking at home. So, I mean, it is already happening in different parts of the world where people don't cook at home. They like to prefer to eat outside. And probably, maybe the next generation, maybe 15 years from now, that trend would be here also, because nobody wants to waste their time in things which they can get better hands-on at a fractional of a cost what they would like to spend on it. So, I mean, the generational change will bring all these consumption patterns, improve these consumption patterns to a very different level. Probably my kids would not like to cook. I mean, why would they like to cook? I mean, what is the need for them to...
So would they chase a lifestyle that will take them to Jaipur or Chandigarh?
See, it is so the kids of their age in Jaipur would also be in the same pattern. So, I mean, because they are getting educated today, they are looking at opportunities which are right now today. So, obviously, their next level of requirement, when they would be ready to buy a house or they want to invest into real estate, would be very different than ours.
True.
So there would be wellness as the top level requirement, then the amenities, then how close is it to the work environment where they are working with. So these would be the parameters they would be looking at, and those ecosystems which get developed in these areas would be much more robust because they're developing today.
Yeah, no, that's a very good way to look at it, as to what is it that we are looking at in food delivery could also mean how we live in general. So I would give you the opportunity to span the number of years, and that is where we will end. You said long time 3 times, so tell us how long.
Okay. At least, see, I am 4 decades old. 4 decades old. In my lifespan, I have not really seen a new metro coming in our times in India. But I think today's time is very, very different. The difference is from the perspective of exposure itself. You know, what, as a kid growing up in, Rajasthan or parts of Rajasthan, I did not know a lot many things what, a friend of mine who was staying in Delhi would know, because that was a size, enormous size and the exposure what that, boy or girl was getting. Today, that difference is just not there. Someone sitting out of, let's say, Ajmer would have absolutely same exposure as someone who's, based out of Bangalore, for that matter, in terms of word view. The word view is very, very different because the information is faster.
True.
Hence, going forward, I think, my belief is, as he rightly said, next generation, I think the definition of career, objectives would differ from what it used to be with us. The way the difference happened between me and my elder generation. My father was more preserver. I am more, I earn more. I like to spend more. Unlike my father, who was believer of preserving and saving. I think my kids would be, they would want their own priorities set right. So for them, working from home would be more important than going to office.
Yeah.
They would want more, facilities in and around. Life must be easier for them, and hence I think these all answers what I am not able to put a time frame to that. I think it is a generational change which will take us there.
True, true, true. No, I understand why it's very hard to define. So sorry to have put you at the spot there. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.